All right, let's talk about one of the most audacious claims in modern physics I've seen in a long, long time. We're looking at a brand new theory that says it can actually replace quantum electrodynamics, QED. And look, QED isn't just some run-of-the-mill theory. It is, without a doubt, the single most successful, most precisely tested theory in the entire history of science. So that begs a pretty big question, right? How do you even begin to challenge something that looks, for all intents and purposes, completely perfect? To really get what's going on here, you first have to understand just how ridiculously good QED actually is. So check this out. When physicists use QED to predict a very specific property of an electron, something called its magnetic moment, they get a number. Then they go into the lab and they measure that same property, and the numbers, well, they're basically identical. The agreement is perfect out to more than 10 decimal places. To put that in perspective, that's like measuring the distance from New York City to Los Angeles and getting it right to within the width of a single human hair. Yeah, and this is the theory someone wants to replace. But for all its incredible, mind-boggling power, QED has always had this dirty little secret. It's a deep, fundamental problem that physicists have known about for decades, but they've kind of had to sweep it under the rug. And here it is. When you actually do the raw calculations in QED, the equations don't give you that beautiful, precise number we just saw. Nope, they spit out infinity. The probability of something happening isn't, 20%, it's infinite percent. The mass of an electron isn't some tiny number, it's infinite. These answers make absolutely no physical sense at all. So how on earth did they get that hair's width precision? Well, they invented this incredibly clever mathematical workaround called renormalization. It's basically a way of taking one infinity and subtracting another infinity from it in a really careful way so they cancel out and leave behind the small, correct number that matches reality. I mean, it works brilliantly. But as the physicists behind this new theory point out, it's a mathematical repair job, not a physical mechanism. It doesn't explain why the universe is giving us these infinite answers to begin with. And this is where the challenger theory, called JSH, steps into the ring. It says, hey, maybe that infinity problem isn't a bug you need to fix. Maybe it's a giant red flag telling you that your most basic assumption about reality is just wrong. They propose we throw out the old foundation completely and start over with a radically different picture of the universe. Okay, so here's the core disagreement. QED and pretty much all of modern physics assumes that reality is a smooth continuum. You can just keep zooming in forever and ever, and it'll always be smooth. The JSH theory says no way. It claims that if you could zoom in far enough, you'd find that reality is discrete, it's pixelated, there's a smallest possible unit, a fundamental building block, and everything else we see emerges from that. They call this fundamental pixel of reality a JS cell. The easiest way to think about it is like a tiny, indivisible little sphere, and its most basic property is that it can spin. That's it. In this new picture, the entire universe is just a massive packed-together collection of these spinning cells. So the whole universe is built on a few incredibly simple, almost game-like rules. Rule 1, everything's made of these spinning JS cells. Rule 2, for the grid to be stable, any two neighbors have to spin in opposite directions. Simple enough, right? Well, in 3 dimensions, you physically can't satisfy that rule everywhere at once, and that leads to Rule 3, frustration. Some cells get conflicting orders from their neighbors, and they can't decide which way to spin. This conflict is resolved as a kind of constant residual jiggling that the theory calls rocking, and from just these simple rules, they claim all of physics emerges. Of course, making a bold claim like that is the easy part. To be taken seriously, any new theory has a huge hurdle to clear. It has to perfectly recreate all the successes of the old theory it wants to replace. So JSH has to run a gauntlet, passing a series of crucial tests the paper calls locks to prove it's the real deal. First up is the A lock. The theory has to explain electrons. And what's amazing is that the collective behavior of these spinning cells naturally gives rise to the Dirac equation. That's the foundational equation of quantum mechanics that perfectly describes how electrons behave. Get this. The theory doesn't just assume electrons exist, it derives their existence from its simple rules. Next, the B lock. In this model, the force of electromagnetism isn't something you have to add in. It just emerges naturally as a geometric property of the cells. Now, this is a huge deal because it means one of the most fundamental ideas in physics, called gauge invariance, which is the math behind forces,
isn't a special rule you have to assume. It just pops out of the system's geometry all on its own. And then, the C-lock. From the way these domains of cells curve and interact, the theory derives Maxwell's equations, just the complete set of laws that govern all of electricity, magnetism, and light itself. So, in essence, it's rebuilt the pillars of physics from scratch. But now comes the final boss. The final challenge is what they call the D-lock. This is the big one. This is the numerical showdown. Can this new, simple theory calculate that ultra-precise number for the electron, the one we saw at the very beginning? This is it. This is the number to beat. It's one of the most precisely measured quantities in all of human history. There's absolutely nowhere to hide. The theory has to derive this exact value using only its own fundamental rules. And here's the kicker. The challenge isn't just to get the number. It's to get the number directly, without ever running into an infinity and without using that mathematical trick of renormalization. Because the reality is pixelated, there's a natural cutoff, a smallest possible size. So the infinities that plague QED, they just never show up in the first place. I mean, the philosophical difference here is just massive. QED starts with infinity and needs a clever mathematical fix to get a real answer. JSS starts with a finite setup from the very beginning. QED has to postulate that the vacuum of space is fizzing with random quantum fluctuations. JSS derives these rocking modes directly from its rule about frustration. One is a patch, a repair job. The other claims to be the actual physical mechanism for how reality works. And I love this part. The authors don't try to hedge their bets. They state it right there in the paper, black and white. If the number they calculate doesn't match the experiment, their entire framework is wrong. Period. This is bold, it's testable, and it's exactly what real science is all about.
So let's just imagine for a second. What if they're right? What if they nail it? Well, if this new foundation can replace QED, the most precise theory we've ever had, their ambitions don't stop there. The paper lays out a whole roadmap for unifying huge chunks of modern physics.
And the goals are just breathtaking. They think they can explain the strong nuclear force, the electroweak force, without even needing a Higgs boson, and maybe even derive gravity itself as just an emergent property of their geometry. Their pixelated space would mean the singularity inside a black hole just can't exist. And the Holy Grail, they think they might be able to derive all the fundamental constants of nature, like the speed of light, from pure geometry. This is basically a roadmap to a theory of everything, all starting from one little spinning pixel. Which really leaves us with this final thought. For almost a century, physics has been using a brilliant but fundamentally flawed theory, and we've gotten really good at patching it up. This new idea just throws all the patches away and tries to rebuild the entire house on a new, much simpler foundation. And if that foundation can perfectly create one of the most complex and precise numbers in all of science from scratch, you just have to ask yourself, what else can it build?